Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Monday, June 29th, 2026, and I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump right in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. Okay, so glad to be back with you. Here we are. I hope you had a fantastic weekend with your friends and family and community. Got out and did some action. That would be fantastic as well. So I always start by saying thank you. I want to thank Diana. Thank you so much, Diana. You made my day over the weekend. When I saw your donation, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone supporting monthly. You make the channel happen, and I'm so, so grateful. And so I'm going to jump in here. I think I might plug a tiny bit just to say, as we're getting to the end of the month here, c60evo.com/YAFTV. I'll talk about it more at the end of the video. But just to let anybody know, anyone who supports Your Free TV gets entered into the giveaway of 2 bottles to 2 different people randomly selected who support the channel every first of every month. I get to give away 2 bottles because of my fantastic sponsor. And also, once you support the channel, you also get 15% off, different code and link sent to you. Everybody else gets 10% off just for seeing it on this video. Links are below for that. So we'll get into how fantastic it is, how incredible at the end of the video, but I really want everybody to go watch, and it'll be linked below again. The great video I did about neuroplasticity and C60evo, the ESS60 molecule, studies that just show how it cleans out the brain. It's just so important. Okay, I'm going to move on. We got so much waterfront. It's like, woo, there's so much news today, and it's pretty incredible. So I'm going to jump in here and get into it. One really important thing that just came up on the radar, and Paulina Luna doing such heavy lifting. And, you know, everybody criticizes her for this and that, and, oh, she's not doing the right thing when it comes to the UFOs and the disclosure and secret space program and all of it. Who else is doing it? Okay. I don't think she's up there as a shill. I think that she is, you know, a new politician that has been trying very hard to get, whether it was the, you know, the MLK documents released, the Epstein documents, the Mkultra documents, all of this with Tulsi Gabbard, of course. Well, we had, of course, the canceling of the hearings for the Mkultra that I had announced last week, what we already knew. I mean, I'd announced it a couple weeks ago. And that was after the CIA raided Gabbard's DNI office. And now they've popped back up. Okay, again, this is because of Paulina Luna and whatever's going on behind the scenes there. And so now tomorrow at 10 a.m., the Mkultra hearings are set to launch again. So you can be 100% sure that I will be watching every moment of that and be talking hugely about that tomorrow. So I don't know if Kathy O'Brien's going to be there. I don't know if Jesse Beltran. I don't know if the same people are going to appear. And it's been hush hush. So maybe they kept it hush hush to actually push it through and have it happen. So this is huge news. And of course, we'll be covering that tomorrow massively. That is a great, great win to have that go back up. And also about Paulina Luna over the weekend, she said she's going to do her best to basically shut down the House until the, you know, just kind of pulling, you know, just doing some Thomas Massey work here. She's saying she's going to do her best to obstruct the House doing any legislation until the Save America Act is pushed through the Senate with filibuster, or the getting rid, of course, of the ridiculous the bird. This is literally Grandmaster, Grand Dragon of the KKK bird, who was Biden's and HRC's mentors, you know, in the Senate, that created this parliamentarian rule, right, where you had to have the 2/3 majority in all of this, and Trump coming out and saying, ignore the rule, etc. And we have so much SCOTUS, you know, decisions today. We're going to jump into that. But basically, you know, that rule could be dismissed. It's not a law, it's a rule. And so basically we could get, if we got Collins and Murkowski and Tillis and what's his face, Cassidy, on board to pass the Save America Act with J.D. Vance there as deciding vote, it could go through with just a majority. And that's a great thing to do over the this coming week leading up to America 250 for people in those states, you know, Alaska, Maine, et cetera, to put on a bit of a protest and against the MK Ultra mind control that keeps you from doing these things, to go hard on your senators here to push and say you will never ever allow them to be senators again in the next election if they do not get behind the Save America Act. Murkowski especially, they have that ranked choice voting there in Alaska. So basically, action is needed. And so, but Anna Paulina Luna in the House saying, I'm going to try to obstruct the House legislation from going forward if whatever's going on in this cabal background, we know Thune's under investigation here with this smurfing money campaign laundering situation. But now we've got disgusting Mike Johnson, sending the Housing Act to Trump's desk, even though Trump had refused to do the signing ceremony last week. And he comes out and threatens basically Anna Paulina Luna and anybody else in the House who is saying, I'm going to obstruct, I'm going to stop even the Congress, because this is not right. You're going against the will of the supermajorities of both the Democrats and the Republicans in not passing this bill. It's absolutely criminal, against the president's agenda, et cetera, et cetera. Good wins on that with the federal government firings today, the FTC with Scotus. But basically, she's doing some heavy lifting. So big ups to Anna Paulina Luna. And I say, give her, get on our socials, give her big ups. And let's do this. And let's call 202-225-2777 and do the opposite to Mike Johnson and tell him to stop threatening fellow Congress members who have just as much power as he does to basically do what they need to do to get the president's and the entire American citizens population will passed, okay, to have free and fair elections, as we see today with Scotus, where they, of course, came out with this disgusting, bogus decision to allow there to be late received mail-in ballots being counted as okay to go. Okay, so you have 18 states and territories that have this forever mail-in ballots, vote, we decide how many more we need, and then we just get them in magically out of nowhere. And, this gets into what's coming here. That could be stopped with Trump's Save America Act. And of course, that means that very few mail-in ballots. We still have the USPS, the Postmaster General saying he will not send out ballots without voter rolls provided to ensure that those ballots are real, and it goes on and on. So big ups to Anna Paulina Luna doing this. It is a big deal. She's doing the MK Ultra files, and she's doing the hearings, and also this huge push on gross Mike Johnson, the disgusting, awful Speaker of the House. I say put in Anna Paulina Luna as Speaker of the House, and I say let's get Mike Lee, who's trying to call the Senate back from their 18-day vacation for July 4th, which they are absolutely against not getting this done. Let's put him in as leader. Okay, we can get 27 votes. Let's get Thune out. Okay, so of course 202-224-31214 for your senator to pressure them to get done, and 202-224 202-224-2321 for Thune Direct to let him know how you feel about the Save America Act not being passed. Okay, I have to say all these things because it's most important right now. So we have right now in San Francisco a church burning, okay, in downtown San Francisco. And this is, it's a 3-alarm fire. There's hundreds, at least 100 firemen there. Another church burning in San Francisco, another liberal city. What did we have about a week ago or 10 days ago now with the Mamdani Bernie rallies that happened in Brooklyn? You had then the next day after that rally, a historic church in Brooklyn that burned down, just burned down to the ground. Historic. This went back to like the Dutch, before they had a church, they were gathering in this spot. Okay, old America 250 church, way before that, into the colonies time. So very disturbing. What's going on here? It's the same, this is just like Europe, just the same of the burning down of our churches. And so I wanted to make sure you heard about that, and I'll try to link what I can below about it. And of course, we have that disgusting Senator Gallego who stole the Senate election from Carrie Lake after she had already had the governor election stolen from her in Arizona. And he is called up for all this campaign. He, Cartel Gallego is what I call him. And this is when they were threatening Carrie Lake's life. It'd be better if you just, move to the East Coast and we've got great jobs for you, kind of thing. And Gallego is accused of spending campaign money for luxury vacations, Disneyland trips with his entire family, Super Bowl tickets, wicked expensive, like just full out fraud. And there was this congressional look into this, and it's already dropped. Like it just happened before the weekend, and now it's dropped. Okay, why is that? It's because so many of them are guilty of the same thing. And so this is our disgusting, awful Congress and Senate, of which there are so few who are doing heavy lifting, who aren't traitors, shall we? Let's just say it, who aren't just traitors. Okay, globalist, disgusting, awful, anti-American traitors, certainly not representing the will of the people. And so I do want to mention, of course, we did have Trump, coming out against the communism on his truths over the weekend and just saying, we're ready for the communists. Get ready, enjoy the show, kind of thing on his truths. But we basically, are wondering what that's going to mean. He said, we've been waiting for it. We know it's coming. And we did have Scott Bessent have one good answer with this, which was also said, I think just before the weekend, where he said that these leftist organizations funded by these leftist NGOs that are breaking laws within the United States, whether it is against the electoral system, whether it is against the way they're doing lawfare, the way they're doing what they do in the streets and in the institutions. He says that they're going to be facing having their assets seized in criminal prosecution. So through the Treasury, we have Bessent coming out and saying we're going to be seizing assets. So it's interesting because we know they're going against Neville Singham, right, out of China, living in Shanghai. He was, from California. I think he's married to the Code Pink lady. And they're going against him, they're trying to seize his assets, prosecute him. But we still never hear about this Alex Soros prosecutions, indictments. Let's get Alex Soros, let's get him rolled up, right? Because with Huma Abedin and her Muslim Brotherhood, his wife, the Wiener laptop, the Hillary Clinton, all of it, her Muslim Brotherhood, huge activity there in New York City. We have that new Islamist. Is she the one that stole the trash can? I can't remember, the Knicks trash can. The Knicks are now like coming, she won the primary there in New York City for office, and the Knicks are having to come out and say, hey, cease and desist, you can't keep putting our Knicks things like in your campaign ads and videos. And she also came out of Colombia. So it's all this Colombia stuff, just as Obama's dad was installed in Colombia, right? We have the same, no, his father, his CIA father installed, just as, Obama went to Colombia, we have the installment of Mamdani's father at the same time, okay, where Mamdani's father was installed by the same CIA factions, to then, of course, bring up this supposedly son, right, who doesn't live with them and is living in, where is he from, Uganda or whatever, that the fact that he is born in Uganda and gets to hold office as large as the mayor of the most important metropolis in the United States is already disgusting. Was it Paulina Luna? There was somebody who brought up a bill of nobody born in foreign nations should be able to hold powerful positions. I 100%, 8 million% agree with that. But then out of nowhere, this Muslim Brotherhood kid becomes this powerful mayor like Sadiq Khan in London. And so I'm kind of going on here like I do, but let's go on from there. I'll mention this in passing. We have Governor Hochul of New York spending $2.5 million to fund free healthcare for prostitutes in New York City, right at the same time, right? Because you've got all your, you got to fund those prostitutes, their healthcare. That's happening. And yeah, there's so much going down where we're having, the huge education lobbyists, we've got those teachers associations and the unions, just the disgusting awful that is our education system, as Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, is trying to dismantle it and take it out of the federal government entirely. She said that $8 trillion has been spent since 1980 in the creation of the Department of Education, and that now, of course, we have children that are stupid, okay, that we have absolute destruction of education, and of course, exposing the FAFSA scam crackdown, 200 million ghost students that don't exist, stealing student aid grants and just taking the money, and they're not even enrolled in school. And basically now we have 16 Democrats trying to impeach Linda McMahon over her total takedown and destruction of the bogus and disgusting Department of Education. So basically, she said by the end of this year, from all of her efforts and what she's been able to claw back and take out of operation, and plus all the fraud, that we will have saved $2 billion in bogus education spending by the end of 2026. So this is very, very cool. And yeah, and she also said that on 6/30, so this is tomorrow, so I'm excited to look at this. I guess it's going to be showcased on CBS, right? But on tomorrow, there's going to be what has been like the 1776 America 250 civics contest nationwide. So students have been competing on for a scholarship prize that I believe the grand prize is $250,000. So maybe that's divided in. I haven't gotten quite the details, but the winners we're going to be able to find out tomorrow. I'm excited to check this out because you have people competing about their knowledge, deep knowledge of American civics from 1776 to the present. So that's really, really exciting. And thought you might be interested in that. Okay, so moving on from there, today is the 250th anniversary of the Virginia Constitution and Virginia state constitution. We have, just this incredible, what happened here in the build up towards the Declaration of Independence being declared, all of the coming together and the tempering of between the states of the North and the South, of the colonies coming together to figure out how they can move forward with the Declaration of Independence. And of course, it's very, very exciting. It's very, very exciting as the Revolutionary War is going on and they're getting ready to declare independence. You're having states, have constitutions in play. And here we go as we get towards America 250, and it's very, very, very cool, very intense. So I wanted to jump here, I think, to just mention one really thing that I think is also very important in the waterfront, announced by the EU over the weekend. Von der Leyen, the daughter of a Nazi spy, who was the creator of Nazi uniforms, right? And also her on her mother's side, we have the back to South Carolina, and the largest slaver plantation in South Carolina that owned the most slaves. This is her family heritage, and she was basically schooled in London under a different name. I believe her name was Rose back then, because her family was wanted as Nazis. And so anyway, she has declared that the EU will no longer grant asylum to Ukrainians. And I'm just doing this as a setup for what we're dealing with here in our country, because they will no longer have asylum granted to Ukrainians, but they'll have the massive pour-in of sub-Saharan African Muslims continue. But Ukrainians must stay in their country and die. They must stay and fight. It's supposedly for fighting age. I don't think it's any longer men. Okay, so they'll be happy to traffic the children, right? They'll be happy to do that, like what now is happening in Venezuela. Okay, since the earthquakes, disgusting, awful. I'll be talking about that in a second. But they'll be happy to take those kids and you know, the elderly. Yeah, no, they let the what is it, the coalition or the association of Christians and Jews or something like this, that ad that always plays on like Bannon or other channels, where basically they're like, you know, this is the international coalition of Christians and Jews, and we really need your $25 a month to feed the elderly Jews in Ukraine, right? We'll just leave the elderly up to that, but it's only the Jews that get the food. You can't give your $25 a month to the coalition of the international coalition of Christians and Jews, Christians first in the title. You can only do it and feed the Jewish elderly, right? And you know, this is what drives me nuts. That ad just drives me nuts, and I mention it like every few months because it just drives me nuts every time I see it. But basically, yeah, with Israel North there, that you know, Ukraine operation is no more escaping from Ukraine, even though they're like fleeing, you know, just as rapidly as they can. No asylum. If you're caught, you're sent back to Ukraine to die. They want to make sure they get rid of all the Christians of Ukraine and those former Russian citizens, and build back better Babylon in Ukraine. And so they want to kill everybody off as much as they can. And of course, when they say military age men or people, what is it like now? It's like 16 to 60, 16 to 60, right? You know, post puberty to like, you know, old age is fodder. So very interesting there in Europe as they flood Islam into the West, that they can that now Ukrainians, who rightfully might be the only country seeking us, not the only, but the, you know, a war-torn country seeking asylum, very, very, very intense to watch what's happening there. And so going from there, I'm going to get into Scotus, which is, you know, the same thing. I think tomorrow we'll get the birthright citizenship decision, the big one, right? We're going to get that tomorrow. But today was pretty disgusting, but a couple wins. But I did want to mention this, which is very interesting because we have Pete Hegseth over the weekend in White Sands, New Mexico, where they did all the atomic bomb, you know, tests back in the day when they had Los Alamos, you know, a couple hundred miles north. You know, the development of the Manhattan Project and all of that after it left from Washington State. But we get this Hegseth, who just created a new council today. A new council, what is it? A new council for defense policy that he's putting Lighthizer as the chairman of the board. So that's an interesting thing I'll touch on more coming up. But he's in White Sands over the weekend watching directed energy weapon lasers knocking out drones from the sky, right? And this is connected to the Golden Dome. It's connected to originating in Reagan's Star Wars plan from everything he had learned, way back to JFK, right? This is getting into secret space technology that, of course, is now just warfare technology. And basically it's super cheap comparatively, that with the satellites and actually energy they can harness from space, electricity from the sun, they can power those lasers, forever. And so he's watching that happen there in White Sands over the weekend. And of course, Trump's executive order 14186 with the Golden Dome, and USA will deter and defend its citizens, and critical infrastructure versus adversaries, and that the testing of the Golden Dome is supposed to happen in 2028 in the summer. That will be an important summer. And so very interesting that we're hearing this, and Hegseth also backed that up with, and we're also going to have like a, kind of moonshot here. We're, just this is a demand signal out through all of the Pentagon bank that they have now, with all their grants, et cetera, and fast tracking of production of these lasers. So that is a happening. And I also want to mention this, and I know it's a lot of bullet points here today, but it is a bit of a waterfront video. We also have on tomorrow the end of the USMCA. Okay, the USMCA ends tomorrow. This is, of course, I mentioned it last week. This is the Mexico, USA, Canada agreement, where this is this trade agreement that Trump came up with to get rid of NAFTA, and is not being replaced, is certainly not immediately. And Trump has said he wants to end the whole thing. And we're going to do sovereign nation trade agreements, and it's based on hemispheric defense, and it's based on your loyalty to that. And globalists who are aligned with a globalist vision, and that have, dominion policies and ties, or cartel policies and ties across the pond, we're going to be tariffing that. So this is all very, very interesting and exciting, I believe, of what's happening here with the USMC financial trade agreement ending tomorrow. So we'll cover that as more comes up on it. And so let's go into Scotus. We've got, I do have to mention this, actually. We're coming, we're getting there. But, with Mark Wayne Mullen, the DHS, we just need to get rid of DHS. All it is just a way to trample on the rights of Americans, surveil us, do everything disgusting. And Mark Wayne Mullen is just awful. And you should call those numbers, and you should call the White House, and you should let them know that you want Mark Wayne Mullen fired immediately after that one SCOTUS win we get last week, right? Where temporary protected status does not cover Haitians and Syrians. It's over. It's been 16 years. Go home. We're going to pick you up and give you $2,400 each, and you get to go start over back in your home country or somewhere else, possibly. And so what do we have Mark Wayne Mullen then do on CNN over the weekend? Basically saying, oh, or you could just apply for permanent status, right? Okay. And so the Haitians for 16 years, that's with there's 350,000 of them in the country, and there's $1,400 a month in financial assistance that they get, and that's $6 billion a year. $6 billion a year of U.S. taxpayer dollars, right? And what do we have with SCOTUS? We have Haitian adopted children by Amy Coney Barrett, and Haitian adopted children by Chief Justice Roberts, both of them in of the courts, both of them, on the council, out of the UK, Jesuit connections, up the wazoo. And we know the story, right? And, HRC and all of everything with the Silsby child trafficking situation out of Haiti, right? That was after the earthquake 16 years ago. And now what do we have in Venezuela? We get these massive earthquakes, another aftershock earthquake, supposedly, of 4.6 over the weekend. It was 80,000 missing. Now it's something like 50,000, they say. But now what are we hearing? The same exact child trafficking situation. where the mothers, you have people coming out, mothers saying, my child, who's like 9 years old, 6 years old, are supposed to be at this and this hospital. I get there and they're not there, and they can't tell me where the kids have gone. And basically, kids are being changed, their names changed, putting tags on them, name tags on them, and their names being changed from their regular surname, and they're disappearing. And this is coming out in multiple massive videos of the trafficking that goes on after the earthquakes. Okay, and the NGOs are always super involved in this, and whether it's the UN or anybody else. But just look at what happened with Haiti. And look at what's gone on with, obviously, the 500, 450,000, they say. I'm sure it's much, much more of the kids stolen during um, the Biden cartel stolen election regime. And now out of Venezuela, we're hearing the same thing, where dozens of kids are being reported that they're supposed to pick them up at the hospital. They're not there, or they just can't find them, period. And so this is another trafficking situation, and we're going to keep reporting on it, but it is very disturbing to hear. Absolutely. So prayers for these children, and that what should be happening right now is the U.S. military. Honestly, the U.S. military should get in there and protect these kids. This is very disturbing. The police are extremely corrupt in Venezuela. The people have their lives have improved somewhat until this massive earthquake came along, earthquakes. And of course, we know how they generate the earthquakes and the weather weapons, just like they're about to do here in the USA, where for the remainder of the week and going into the July 4th celebration 250, they're going to hit us with 100-degree weather in places that aren't used to it, central states and into the east and northeast. They're just going to pummel massive heat wave, and ruin it, okay, for people that can't handle that kind of heat and certainly aren't used to it. So there we go again, right? So we can expect major chemtrails, major geoengineering. That's how they generate that heat. And if you're already seeing it already in your area, let me know below in the comments. So very disturbing what's going on here with the trafficking. And we have to wonder now, are they going to do this temporary protected status for the Venezuelans, right? When it was, what's her face, who did it back in the day for the Haitians. She's like, if you're already here in the US, you're under temporary protected status. So is this the way some lobby, some weird thing, not weird, some usual ongoing pay for play baloney going on with the huge Venezuelan lobby, that they are, and it's Tren de Aragua. I mean, we're talking about Venezuelans. Is this a way to get some new temporary protected status for Venezuelans? And, you know, uh, and Mark Wayne Mullen with his, don't worry, just apply for permanent status. It went from, oh, we're going to start deportations of Haitians immediately to, oh, we want to tone it down. And I've chosen this new guy, like the opposite of a Bovino, right? Who was the Border Patrol director, who was ready and full bore. He's 100% on record constantly saying there's at least 100 million illegal aliens in the US, which would make our population almost 500 million in the US. Explains so many things between the crowded highways and the housing problem and the jobs problems. Well, and the, everything, the inflation, the cost of living. But basically now we get this this awful thing where we're having um, where we're having Mark Wayne Mullen put up as the next Border Patrol chief director. Let me see, what's his name? Hold on, give me a second. Sometimes I gotta take a minute here to look around. Oh, and it was Daria Liza Chevalier, who was the Columbia divestment group person who's now, of course, won the primaries there in New York City. But where is this? Sorry, sometimes we can pause. I talk kind of fast anyway. So just give me a minute here where I'm looking for this. Well, it's going to annoy me, so I might have to put you on hold while I find this. Although maybe I'll just let us keep going like this. Sometimes we don't mind a little pause. I'm going to pause. I got to find this guy's name. Okay, so Lance Schroyer, and this is out of Oklahoma, and he is apparently former Marine Raider, and in the Oklahoma Highway Patrol has been participating in the 287G program, which was you can deputize police officers to act as Border Patrol agents, but basically he's being put up as the new ICE director by Markwayne Mullin. And so we automatically do not trust this guy. Okay, he looks like someone you wouldn't buy a used car from. He just has the vibe. So we'll keep following and seeing what Lance Schroyer is all about. But basically, as Markwayne Mullin was putting out in the news that this is who he's nominating, he's saying, we want to take the tone down. We want to take the tone down. Well, literally, the entire GOP base wants to bring the tone way up, okay, to get the non-assimilating migrants out of the country, to preserve our civics, to preserve our culture. Literally want that to happen, not to mention a large portion of the Democrat base as well. So we need to fire Markwayne Mullin. We need to prevent this Lance Schroyer from getting in. And that's what I feel at this moment as I'm looking at what's going on. And so going to SCOTUS here and these rulings today. So we get the late ballots can just be counted forever. That's disgusting with Amy Coney Barrett just being, it's not just her. It's Kavanaugh and of course Roberts. Okay, the swamp creatures that awfully got into SCOTUS, right? And then so we know that. So, but basically we go on to the Cook case. This is, of course, that SCOTUS also ruled that that Lisa Cook, who Trump has fired from the Federal Reserve Governor Board, while she's under investigation for this mortgage fraud, basically saying that he can't fire Federal Reserve governors. They are an independent agency. Okay, so there we go again, more proof that the Federal Reserve is not federal and there's no reserve. Okay, that it is just a globalist agency bent to destroy America, the American economy, the wealth, and the ability to gain mobility of the American people. And Lisa Cook cannot be fired. So I'm sure this is, this is a 5-4. We get Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett on that one again. And of course, the Jesuits. And this is, of course, interconnections there with Jerome Powell. If they fire Lisa Cook, what will they do to Jerome Powell, right? He's under investigation with this $4.5 billion Federal Reserve refab, right? And the missing money there and the unreported amounts that were being earmarked for it. And so very interesting there. Trump has come out and said he's going to continue to pursue the case against Lisa Cook in spite of this. So that is very cool as well. And then the other SCOTUS case today was versus Slaughter, right? And this had to do with the FTC employee who was fired, where basically this is a great win, and this was a 6-3, where gets rid of what is called the Humphreys executor that comes out of the FDR times, where FDR wanted to fire George Humphreys and basically said, I have the right to fire people who go against my agenda if they're in my under my administration's jurisdiction in the federal government. This is basically a insurrectionist, thing that happens if you're not carrying out the agenda that I completely tell you to do and following orders. When you're working under the auspices of the executive branch, I have every right to fire you, right? And so this is now dead, okay, in this Humphreys case, and that precedent has been set aside, and the Supreme Court has now basically said that neither Congress nor courts can saddle the President of the United States with agents who are working against him, specifically his orders and what his administration it tells them to do. And so basically, that if you cannot work with somebody in administration, it gives you the right to fire them unless they're from the Federal Reserve, which is independent, but it gets to be called federal. And so that is a fantastic win. That is actually huge, right? And so let Pulte take care of Cook, right? Let Pulte still keep following up and Treasury on those mortgage fraud um, um, uh, prosecutions that going on, and let's get some firing done, right? Pulte there at DNI, and interestingly, Warsh at the federal government, at the Federal Reserve is firing lots of people there. So that is also fantastic because he can do it as the chairman. Okay, and so another case that isn't being talked about much that I think is a great win for the American people is the geofencing warrants case, right? And this had to do with a bank robbery at a credit union, I think in Virginia, where some guy made off with like 190K or something out of this credit union, and there was geofencing used to locate him, find him, and put him in prison, right? And prosecute, and et cetera. But Supreme Court, we also know that geofencing is being used by the Israelis to track every Christian in the United States. It was used to round up the J6 prisoners. It's been used very disgustingly by our rogue and horrible intelligence community, not ours, the people against us. And so this was a great ruling, in my opinion, because this geofencing warrants case did come out from the Supreme Court saying that it's not legal, that it violates the Fourth Amendment, okay, for illegal search and seizure is the fourth, but basically saying this is illegal search, that you do these sweeping warrants that just drag up everybody's data that is protected and private and can't be put into these geofencing warrants. And so that is a fantastic thing. I think that is a great win as well. And so we're going to see what happens with birthright citizenship tomorrow. We're going to see what happens, of course, with what is the MK Ultra hearings. This is massive. And then I also wanted to mention, of course, we have the Daughters of the American Revolution, where they were ambushed with this thing of you have to accept trans, you have to accept men into this organization that literally is only for women, okay, who literally through genealogy and testing can prove that they are descendants of the of the people who fought in the Revolutionary War for this country. At America 250, they're saying now you have to let men into your organization, and there's huge pushback from the Daughters of the American Revolution. This is like since 1880, right? That they've been in play. So 150 years almost. We're seeing this huge fight back. And so that is good to see the fight back, and ridiculous. Okay, this it's like a spit in the eye of just the gross, disgusting, constant invasion of woman, right? What it means to be a woman, and the squeezing out of women's reality with this male invasion into women's lives and spaces and rights and et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, we're going to hear about this. I believe we're going to hear also tomorrow about the men and women's sports Supreme Court case. I didn't see that today, so I'm assuming I would have heard huge, bells going off if that had happened today. So So yeah, it's really interesting. There's so much happening, and you know, it's on us to basically take up the slack and do the heavy lifting in our lives, and especially locally. And if you want to act local, which I pray that you do, besides making phone calls, you can get in touch with the election integrity. Let me say election integrity network .org, electionintegritynetwork.org, and other ways to do so below. Precinct Project USA, so many tab, all of this where you can find out positions that are open and available, um, local. But basically, if everything pisses you off here about what's going on with our elections, and you really want to get active fighting and pushing locally, okay, to stop the local is worst. It's the worst where they come in and slowly and insipidly change the laws around elections. And so electionintegritynetwork.org, volunteer, and they'll put you into service immediately in your local precinct. They have everything super organized. You can go there and sign up, and you'll immediately get put to work. So that is fantastic. So let's do that. And they're going against already. You got Cleta Mitchell at the helm there. She's already saying with the new Scotus ruling to do with this mail-in voting assault crime against our country, that basically she's saying there's already fuel in it to be fighting early voting and fighting postmark dating. So, you know, that basically it says in the ruling in a very ridiculous, you know, when they write out their ruling, basically she says in there that they basically say that there's a question about early voting and that there's a question about postmarks, that there has to be, you know, if it's postmarked by the day it's due, just like sending in a bill, that then it counts, okay? But we know places like California don't have postmarks, and so this could be great fodder for fighting that. But it's ridiculous because we just need the SAVE Act. We just need the SAVE Act. We need lots of people with the SAVE Act sign out there doing that over this America 250 week. That our senators feel disgusted with themselves, that they feel the pressure by the American people actually doing something physically to show them that we won't be not listened to, that we won't be ignored. And so I'm constantly urging that. And I also just wanted to mention this on my way out, which is that we're going to be having Ireland assume there's sort of there's this fixing coming up here with this, you know, civil war. They're kind of war gaming in Europe to see, like, if we can't get the Russian in World War III, should we do this civil war in Europe thing? Um, and now Ireland is going to be the next. They're going to be holding the new presiding over the EU presidency. It's come to Ireland next. And so they're already kind of militarizing the globalist infrastructure there in Dublin and in Northern Ireland, that they're basically preparing for what they think is going to be possible civil war fight back. And they're wargaming it, saying, does this have enough, right, for us to get our war on, that we globalists can steal and steal and steal and destroy using civil war in Europe and, of course, Ireland, instead of, you know, if we can't get our Russia World War III. And so this is very, very interesting that now we're seeing this kind of move to build out a sort of globalist stronghold here in Ireland, with the presidency coming there soon of the EU, and we need to keep watching out for that as we go. So I'm going to leave it there at 49 minutes. Thanks so much for watching. If you found something that was helpful, sort of, you know, maybe built out some more understanding for you, and you want to support the channel, it'd be super, super appreciated. Shoestring budget here, super underwater, and love to be able to do more research and in-depth and more videos by supporting the channel. That's what I need for that to happen. So ways to do so below in the description, and I will discuss my fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Maybe I'll put the banner up while we're doing this. That really is The ESS60 molecule made in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas, made in America with the purest, finest ingredients, 100% solvent free. This is super pure and powerful, and just bought up by the big C clinics, working with traditional medicine as well. New study just came out showing that that the ESS60 molecule allows healthy cells to remain healthy when doing traditional treatments like chemo and radiation, and um, and also helps to make the cancer cells die. So that's for entertainment purposes only. I have to say that, but basically, central nervous system disorder diseases, all the degenerative cell-based diseases, which is basically all of them, um, are incredible results happening with this. But also, it gets into the neurons. It cleans out your brain. It cleans out your neurons, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it stays in your body for 10 days, just kind of revamping itself. It's amazing. It works with your glutathione, your melatonin, your master hormones, which also helps those to be able to stay in good supply instead of being, just totally depleted, as most of us are with those, and especially as we age. So neuroplasticity, aging healthily, fighting inflammation, all of this incredible, incredible product that is C60 Evo. So check it out below. And again, as I said, if you support the channel, you get 15% off with a different linking code sent to you. And I get to give away 2 bottles of the olive oil capsules every month to 2 randomly selected awesome supporters. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. So appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow. We're going to check out the Mkultra hearings. This is massive. And we're also going to be, of course, watching what comes down with Scotus and so much more. So I will see you tomorrow. You are free. Take action.